What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi Fruit Loop. Are you feeling better?
I'm getting there. Still a little queasy, so
Yeah, it's hard to get over. I'm just sitting here looking. Do I look? I have a black eye. I tripped over Thunder last night, my black dog, who I can't see in the dark, and I kind of
uh
caught like the edge of a chair. Look at that.
that ain't fun.
I got a shiner.
You look like you've been
Anyway,
fighting.
so we want to give a big shout out real quick to our sponsor, Two Cool T-Shirt Quilts. You can go to twocooltshirtquilts.com/pretty lies and alibis. And I was thinking kind of the cool thing that I'm going to do is I have infant little onesies that are special from when my kids were babies. And then I have
Oh,
like toddler t-shirts. So the different sizes is going to work good. I'm starting to get all that. I've been getting it together for months, but it's a hard decision. So if
yeah.
you go there, you can get some Christmas shopping done or, start planning ahead for graduations and stuff.
Yep. So
So
they can take your t-shirts and make them into a quilt that is too cool.
awesome. We want to give a big thank you to Diane for the PayPal donation. And it's interesting because her daughters live here in Greenville.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I told her if she's ever in town, give us a shout. Maybe we can meet up for coffee. And we want to give a shout out to Michelle over at Journey for Justice, JJ, Tylee, Charles, and Tammy, which is a really cool Facebook group. She has been really kind to us and has posted our podcast. And it's a
Yeah,
good
she's
group.
cool.
They really keep it kind of from getting out of hand sometimes.
It's Journey to Justice, right?
Journey to Justice. Yeah. So go check
Okay.
them out on Facebook. We're over in there sometimes commenting, and we appreciate you, Michelle.
Yep. We also want to say get well, Larry
Yes.
Woodcock. He had his knee replacement.
Yes. And he apparently had the hiccups for 8.5 days.
Well, I know that was with his first one too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so that's what they were afraid of. Kay had put something out that they were afraid he would get the hiccups, and sure enough, he started them. So I hadn't looked today to see, but
Can you imagine
um,
having the hiccups for 8 days? I think I'd throw myself
uh,
like off a bridge.
I'm gonna. I told you. I think you posted this or whatever. The only thing that stops my hiccups is peanut butter.
Yeah.
In elementary school, I used to have to go get peanut butter to stop my hiccups.
Oh my gosh, that's
It works.
crazy.
I don't know.
The only other thing, because you would think you would get sore.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
the only other thing I could think would be as miserable is to sneeze for 8 days.
yeah. That'd be bad. But
I,
hiccups,
I'm
it kind of hurts.
I'm coming close because I'm gonna tell you something has tickled my allergies. And I mean, it was 30 solid minutes the other day. I could not even finish a whole sentence. My kids were dying laughing because I was trying to fuss at them, but I was, just every 10 seconds it was achoo. So,
That's funny.
anyways, Mark Means has filed a motion to show cause for contempt against Melanie Gibb.
Didn't he do this one other time?
I don't know if
It's been a while.
maybe he has. It's been a hot minute, but I think this is when she was served when she was in Idaho testifying for the grand jury.
Yeah.
So she was served at the hotel she was staying at and refused it. So the filing says that he has received no response to date. And at the time of service, Melanie said she would refuse it and then she would get in touch with Rob Wood.
I'm
So,
telling you, when I served papers, it was very hard when somebody didn't want to be served.
mhm.
So we had to do campouts and everything because technically, I mean, this is what we had to do. You had to get them to say who they were.
Oh,
So sometimes we could get away with if it was like a doctor or something that you could
yeah,
prove who they were by a picture.
right.
But yeah,
Yeah. So he says in this filing today, she has possibly evaded criminal prosecution regarding incidents relevant to the above cases and has engaged in inappropriate communications, including phone calls, emails, and text messages with the prosecution, other essential witnesses, possibly destroyed evidence and or electronic devices in this matter, and has made multiple conflicting statements regarding her personal knowledge, actions, and inactions regarding the case.
I I don't know.
Yeah.
He,
So
I don't know.
I know. So he's asking for an award of fees, costs, and sanctions against her. And so the original subpoena, I went back and read it right before we come on, and it was 7 pages long. And he asked for everything. He's asking for any form of communication she had with more than 45 people which started from January the 1st, 2019. And this included Lori, Chad, police, prosecutors, any and all journalists. Nate Eaton was named in there, East Idaho News Agencies. Poor Nate. He's done got drug in this thing like 4 times.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just trying to do his job.
It's crazy how he's went after her from the get-go. Remember the rat fleeing ship post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's oh, yeah, I
He's went
forgot
after
about
her
that
from
one.
the get-go. Yeah.
That one really shocked me though. That
Mhm.
was, I mean, in
Yeah.
fact, I think Rob Wood in something said that he's not going to use Twitter
Yeah.
to where, I mean, it's not good in cases like this to use your Twitter to get your message out. He also wants all of her phone records, texts, identity of all phone numbers, personally, professionally, or burner phones. He wants travel records from January 1st, 2018 between Utah, Arizona, Hawaii, and other places. He's asked for all social media usernames for Facebook, Yahoo, Twitter, Instagram, and login information from the AVAL forums, her internet provider, any information about podcasts, books, and public appearances. Let me take a breath. Copies of police records regarding charges, convictions, plea agreements, and immunity agreements involving this case. Originally, he had asked for all this by June the 1st of this year. We are now November 3rd.
Yeah. See, this probably is the one I was thinking about. Why does he want her internet provider? He gonna get internet? He gonna get her? He wants to know who is your service good?
What's your upload speed?
And we
Yes.
know, I mean, he's talking about immunity agreements. I mean, we know up until when she was at the hearing for Chad, the name just left me. Preliminary
Prior.
hearing.
Yeah.
Preliminary hearing, right?
Yeah, that was right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was for Chad.
Yeah.
She was asked by Pryor, "Do you have any immunity agreements or any kind of plea deals?" And she said no.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's not something you would lie about on the stand. We know that Zulema has immunity,
Yep.
but she's the only one we know for sure.
Yeah.
So we briefly talked about this police interview with Melanie Gibb on another podcast, but the video just came out last week. We've got it posted on our YouTube. You can go check it out. We're on Pretty Lies and Alibis at YouTube. By the way, before I forget, we'd had a few people ask about donations. We have a PayPal. It's prettyliesandalibis@gmail.com. But one thing, if you donate through PayPal, you have to choose friends and family to get the money to us. Otherwise, it's waiting on a tracking number. And we've had to refund some people because it holds it for 30 plus days until it gets a
Yep.
tracking number. So just if you're kind enough to do that, and we don't expect it, it's always a nice surprise. Just make sure you're clicking that friends and family, by the way.
Because we're your friends and family.
We are your friends and your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to this. We got the video last week, and there's just a lot that wasn't included in that police summary that came with the Chandler document dump. So I've gone back. I haven't quite finished it yet, but I'm just making notes. And a couple of times, what we're going to have to do is pull in some stuff that we've previously talked about date wise, just because it puts it in better context
Yep.
of what they're talking about. So let's go ahead. This was when was this done?
This was August 19th, 2020. So Melanie says she wants them to know she has great respect for the police. This is when she first goes in. She also asked them to tell her when they're recording and they point to the camera. So she tells investigators she's sorry that they have to get involved because it's a lot of work, and they tell her they've been involved since day one. She tells them that her life has changed. The investigator asks if she has to answer questions every day, and we're assuming he's talking about the public. And she said no, that people don't recognize her in Arizona, but they do in Idaho. So she talks about being in Idaho for a week, and that was for the grand jury, right?
No, because this was in August
Oh, that's
2020. I'm
right.
not
My bad.
sure. I'm not, she might have been up there for something like, I don't know.
Yeah, my bad. So they have casual conversation about telling the truth. And Melanie says, if you want the truth, here it comes. She's not going to back away. She said, if you're okay with the world hearing your truth, you just have to spill the beans. So the investigator says he is hoping to come up with a timeline. And that was big, I know, from the beginning, is to
Yeah.
get all that laid out because it's a ton of information.
There's so much, and I'm still finding going through these documents that when you think you have the timeline nailed down, you get to something else that's really relevant. And so, like we said in the beginning with these documents, we're going to be flip flopping back and forth on this timeline some. Just like with this document, it just makes sense to plug in what text they're referring to.
Yeah. October 4th, 2018 is when Melanie physically met Lori. They had talked on the phone before that. Melanie was teaching at an event at a church in Mesa, Arizona. She said they met a few weeks before Lori and Chad met. She knew Chad, but not closely. She said it was casual knowledge of him. So that's when she brings in Jason Mao, and that's when he kind of introduced him at the temple. And Jason said Lori was like minded. She said Lori called her, and Melanie told her she was going to teach if she wanted to meet her. So then it's like 3 weeks later, the weekend of October 26th, and that's when 5 of them by car go to the Preparing a People event in St. George, Utah. She said nobody in the car knew Lori well. When they got there, she isn't sure if Chad came up to Lori or if she introduced them, but Lori knew who he was because of his books, and they started chatting.
Yeah, and then right here, she said, everything you've heard is, and she sort of throws her hand in the air and starts laughing. So I mean, it's kind of like everything you heard about Lori and Chad, or I don't know, but she just started laughing. It was weird.
Gotcha. She said Chad was one of the speakers, so it was Jason Mao, Hector. Then the audio is bleeped and silent when she names the other speakers. I guess they're not wanting. You can find those poster, you know what I mean? The posters that are out everywhere.
Yeah, and I know in the beginning, a lot of people really kind of focused in on preparing a people. I think as time has gone on, we see that they just happen to be a few of them happen to be a part of that, but I don't think largely preparing a people was super involved in this. They really separated themselves.
Yeah.
I know on the AVAL forums, people were very defensive of them initially. It seemed like they had more allies within AVAL than preparing a people.
Yeah. So the investigator plays a clip from the event and asks her if it sounds familiar. You can hear Chad speaking and thanking Thor. That's where we messed up. We thought he was talking about the Marvel. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
we were all off
We
on
were all
that.
off. Melanie says that that speech was in Mesa the weekend of November 16th, 2018, because Thor was in attendance and spoke at that one and not the one in St. George. She said this meeting was the second time Lori and Chad had met that she knows of. The investigator recites the last 4 of Melanie's cell number and asks how long she's had that phone. She tells him 5 or 6 years before she met Lori. Lori has that number in one account as Melanie and the other account is Phoebe. And Melanie says that doesn't surprise her because that's what she liked to call her. She said Lori got to a point where she was much more secretive with her life. Wonder why. When asked why she would call her Phoebe, Melanie talks about Chad would tell her about her other lives, and in one of those lives she had a bunch of children, and one of those children was Phoebe, and Lori told Melanie that was her, and Melanie said, "Just for the record, I don't believe that."
Yeah, and several times sort of in this interview, what you'll notice if you watch it is that backtracking, kind of like with Zulema, where now they want to say that they didn't believe in all this, or they thought it was a little weird, or they were crazy. And I think it's just a lot of trying to save face in light of everything that's come out about these people.
It'd be embarrassing
Yeah. Yeah.
to some
Oh, yeah.
degree.
Yeah,
I can't believe I fell for all that.
for sure.
So the investigator plays a clip of Lori talking. This was the one that was recorded at Melanie's house. There were other people there. This is where Lori was talking about Joe Ryan, and you hear Lori say that Joe got judges to believe him. Then she was going to murder him to make it stop. She went through the scriptures where it says if he comes against you once, twice, 3 times, and you can kill him. Melanie says she remembers Lori saying this when asked.
Yeah. So Melanie said that recording where she's talking about Joe Ryan happened before Lori and Chad met. And the investigator was asking, was that in October? And she has the recording on her phone, so she grabs it and kind of scrolls through. And she had 2 separate dates, but she thinks that that recording was either on October 12th or the 19th, so just shortly before she met Chad. And Melanie says, you probably have those recordings. And she said she gave it to Elder, and then she stops herself because she meant to say officer, but she says Elder. And when asked about the scripture that Lori was quoting, she just says it justifies murder if someone goes against you 3 times. So Melanie talks about that specific passage that it is. And so they hit play again on that recorder, and they say that you can hear Lori saying, I don't have a murderous heart. I just wanted to stop the pain. And then she says someone who was wise told her to go to the temple. So she did. And then she told the bishop, either I'm going to turn my life to the temple or I'm going to commit murder. So do you want to give me a temple recommend? And Lori said at that point, she was perfectly honest because she had nothing to lose. And again, you just kind of see that subtle manipulation. Hey, bishop, either you give me a temple recommend or I'm going to go take a life. You know what I'm saying? It's
like, how does that bishop not, I mean, I guess maybe thought she was kidding. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think she always sort of, from what we've heard when she says stuff like this, is at times she kind of makes a little bit of a joke of it. But if you remember, she told Melanie Gibb she knows how to handle like police officers. We all know Lori knows how to manipulate people to get what she wants. And I just thought when she said that to the bishop, it's just another example. So when asked what bishop that might have been, Melanie said she met Lori and she was trying to remember. She said they lived in a really big house, but also that they moved a lot. She said that bishop could have been from Hawaii or Texas, so it would have been years ago, because at that point, she and Charles had been married for quite a while, and this was obviously before Joe Ryan had been murdered.
Sure.
So on July 9th, 2019, this is 2 days before Charles was killed. We talked about this in a previous episode, but if you remember, Melanie Gibb spent the night at Lori's house. And Melanie didn't exactly remember the day, but she said she was divorcing her husband and spent the night. And so Lori had told her she shouldn't stay at home all the time and just invited her over. And we know that the next morning when Melanie got up, Lori's like, you got to leave. And Melanie said, why? And Lori said, well, Charles is coming down. He's going to try to kill me. And so Melanie described Lori as a storm all the time. And Melanie said she was the calm. And when she asked why Charles was going to kill her, Lori said that Charles, Adam, Brandon Boudreaux, and her nephew Zach and her dad were all after her. And Melanie was like, well, why? And so Lori said she had a $3 million life insurance policy that Charles changed the paperwork on since he was an insurance guy. And they wanted the money because they were evil and dark. And at that point, they were all zombies.
Again, turning the situation. This is her.
Right. Gaslighting. I'm doing this, but we're going to pretend like you are because I need people on my side.
Yeah. So Melanie left and got a call 4 or 5 days later about Charles. I just still think it's weird. Why do you invite her over? There was a reason.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they had all that planned out.
I mean, at times you almost, for me, as conniving as Lori is, I almost wonder if she was anticipating maybe at some point they would interview Melanie Gibb about Charles's murder, and Melanie would say, look, they were going to kill her. They wanted her money. I was told this. That's all I can think. But then again, at the same time, I think around the 9th was when Lori found out that day. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe it's just because she found out that morning and then was like, I need her gone so I can deal with this. Or was it sort of setting up an alibi? Those are kind of my 2 guesses.
Yeah, I totally agree. When asked about text between Melanie and Lori, where Melanie said she was out in front of Lori's house, Melanie said sometimes when she would go over there, Lori wouldn't hear her. So she would figure out where she was and would go around back. Melanie apologizes and says if she doesn't say it as clearly as she did in the last interview, it's because she's trying to forget all this. I'm going to tell you, I don't know what I did last week.
But I'm going to tell you, though, with this kind of stuff, it seems like when crazy things happen, your memory sort of it kind of kicks in related to something that's kind of crazy. So for me, I would think her memory seems to be like spot on.
Yeah.
So is it kind of selective?
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to forget. Well, I mean, you're kind of wrapped up in one of the biggest murder cases of the decade in this country. I don't think that's something you just try to forget. That was a really odd statement to me.
Yeah. So Lori asked her if she watched the news, and Melanie said no. So Lori said he was coming and plotting to kill her. She was buckling JJ in the car, and Charles's phone was in the middle between the two seats. Melanie says Lori always refers to certain spirits she talks to. One of the spirits told her to pick up the phone, so she did, and she went into the house, and Charles freaked out on her. Tally comes out with a bat, and Charles threatens to kill her. I mean, that's the first time we've heard that, right?
Yeah, and this is all kind of repetitive, but then again, there's these little small details where the story changes between people.
Yeah,
So she tells Melanie the phone was in the car. What she told authorities, as we know, he had forgotten his phone in the house and came back, and that's when he saw her on the
yeah,
phone. So it's just sweet little lies, but they add
yeah,
up and they give insight.
yeah. Now, in Tally's interview, we did not hear her say that Charles threatened to kill her, to my
Right.
knowledge.
And the other thing
Yeah.
too was I don't think in the other interviews she was ever out buckling JJ in the car, if I'm not
Mm.
I think it was she sent Tylee out to put JJ in the car.
Mhm.
So I wonder what it is with Melanie Gibb that gets this version and police and other people get the other version. What's the importance?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
So they're fighting. Charles and Alex get into a fight. Alex said at one point Charles is on top of him and he had the strength of 1,000 demons that were in him. Alex tried to push Charles off. Alex gets a gun and shoots him.
You know, one thing I just thought too, though, I wonder if that variation in the story with Melanie Gibb was a little bit more of a confirmation for Melanie that she has spirits that talk to her and they give her these passcodes that, because, you know, if you remember, she says one of the spirits told her the passcode. It almost seems like to me, maybe she's trying to validate with Melanie Gibb that she is this translated being and the
Yeah.
spirits talk to me and even tell me passcodes on phones.
Yeah, that's a great point because we know in Lori's interview, she says that Charles had the same code to all kind of stuff, right?
Tylee said the same thing, that it was the
Yeah.
same code he used, but
Yeah. So Melanie asked Lori if she looked at the phone and what did she find? How did you know how to open it? Lori says, I asked my angels and they told me the code. Again, that goes along what you're saying.
I need
But
my angels to give me the code to my son's old iPhone so I can
I
get
know,
my
right?
Apple Watch reactivated.
Yeah. So Lori says she opened it up and Melanie asked if he was really cheating on her. And Lori said, yeah, there were all these pictures of girls on there. So Melanie said Lori was trying to make Charles a bad guy, and Melanie said she didn't know that at the time because she's believing in everything Lori tells her.
Oh, yeah, they were all drunk on that Kool-Aid.
Yep. So back to the 9th when Melanie spent the night, Lori was out back on the phone on an important call. And who was that with?
We now know it was Chad thanks to this document dump.
What? So Melanie was asked if Lori was frantic, and she said no.
So we're going to pull in from a past episode here, and we may kind of wrap it up here shortly. But so we're going back to the 9th at 6:18 p.m. And this is when Melanie gets there. And she texts Lori, "Are you home? I want to come over." 2 minutes later, Lori texts her, "All my family and the kids are here, so it's chaos right now." 6:21, Melanie Gibb to Lori, "Okay, let me know when." It's funny because wasn't she outside the house, I think, when she was texting her? Anyways, 6:21, Chad calls Lori. At 7:06, Chad searches Google when you surprise someone with accusations. Then at 7:06 p.m., Lori and Chad talk for an hour and 8 minutes, and that call ended at 8:15 p.m. During the call, she's texting Melanie Pulowski, telling her, "You can't go out of town for this wedding because it's happening. I need you here." So that kind of ends. We just threw that in because she was on the phone with Chad when Melanie arrived. And this is kind of what was happening.
That's an interesting Google. When you surprise someone with accusations.
I think around this time is when Charles found out that, or Lori was told by Charles that he had gotten in touch with Tammy Daybell. I believe this is sort of the same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to double check that, but I think the accusations are there's an affair. And I think at that point, Charles knew.
Chad's Googles are so goofy.
I know.
Like, what
Ned
are you trying to
Schneider.
find out? What are you gonna find out when you surprise someone with accusations? They're gonna be mad. Like,
Yeah, right. They're going to investigate those accusations and see if they're real. But you just see all this. It's insane now that we can kind of piece together these small pieces that we didn't know about. So many things make much more sense. I think maybe we should stop about right here, and then we'll pick up next time to just kind of start clean with where we're
sounds
at.
good.
Yeah. So I think this police video is easily going to be a few episodes just because Melanie Gibb is such an important witness in this case. I really don't want to just rely on that little summary that was in the document dump, because I've already found there's little things stuck in that are relevant and are interesting. So we'll probably pick this back up tomorrow and keep going with this. But in the meantime, keep an eye on social media. If anything crazy happens, we'll let you know. But it's been, other than this filing, it's been pretty quiet since last week's big accusations
Yep.
about the worker encouraging Lori. And, everybody that I've watched that's in the legal field, they don't seem super worried that this is going to result in anything with the prosecution or anything like that. I think everybody kind of agrees if it's proven that this worker influenced Lori, then that is wrong.
Yeah, but we saw the statement. I think you shared it yesterday on social media from the attorney that she supposedly called, right?
Right. And
And
he
he
just basically,
says,
yeah, I
yeah,
forgot. What did it say?
he basically said when she talked to him, he told her he couldn't represent her, that she needed to contact the who to get a attorney appointed in court, from court, a court
Right.
appointed attorney. That's like tongue twister.
Girl.
I know, right?
You
Told
grabbed
her
it at the
that.
end. You got it back at the end, though.
I know, right? I found it. But and then he called Lori's attorney, Mark, and then called Rob Wood.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. So,
he may not have
no,
called
you're
Mark
right.
Means. It may have been the other guy.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I think that should be noted again is that Archibald wasn't named on that filing. And I don't see where he is on this new one today. I'm trying to look and see, but I wonder why. Why are they not doing this as a team? Is it maybe
Mark
because
Means on his
Archibald
own.
knows some of this stuff is hogwash and he just
Exactly.
don't want to really get involved in these petty filings that are going to
Yeah.
end up with a
Yeah.
ruling not in your favor? I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, we appreciate you guys and we will probably see you tomorrow.